The galaxy was old. It had seen wars rise and fade, empires grow and collapse, and stars burn out into silence. Through it all, one power stood above the rest: the Empire. It ruled thousands of systems. Its fleets controlled trade routes. Its armies decided who could expand and who must remain small. Borders were drawn by imperial command, and once those borders were set, no one questioned them, except for one place. On every star map used by the Empire, there was a region marked in red. No trade lanes passed through it. No colonies existed near it. No official records explained it. The label was simple: Terran space. No ships entered it, no fleets crossed its border, and no one in the Empire could clearly explain why. For generations, captains whispered about it. Traders avoided it. Young officers were warned never to plot a course near its edge. The border was treated like a scar in space, ignored, but never forgotten. To the Imperial Council, this made no sense. Terrans did not behave like a powerful race. They did not expand. They did not conquer. They did not threaten. No massive fleets were ever seen leaving their space. No grand cities were visible from orbit. No military parades filled the stars. Terrans were quiet. Too quiet. Imperial analysts described them as outdated, a species that had once reached the stars, then chosen isolation. Their technology was assumed to be old. Their population was believed to be small. Their silence was mistaken for weakness. And so, the Council began to question the red border. During a full assembly of the Imperial Council, a rare event occurred. A single Terran envoy arrived. No fleet escorted him. No weapons followed. No demands were made. His ship was small and unmarked. Inside the massive council chamber where towering alien leaders argued, threatened and displayed power, the Terran stood alone. He did not bow deeply. He did not raise his voice. He did not kneel. He simply stood and waited. When permission was given to speak, the envoy stepped forward. The council expected a plea, or a threat, or perhaps an attempt to negotiate trade. Instead, the Terran spoke one sentence: "Do not enter Terran space." That was all. The chamber went silent for a moment. Then the laughter began. Some council members mocked the simplicity of the message. Others laughed at the idea that such a small, silent species could give warnings to the Empire. A few dismissed it as fear disguised as pride. One counselor asked where the Terran fleets were. Another asked why no one had ever seen Terran weapons. A third asked if this was some kind of joke. The Terran envoy did not answer. He did not argue. He did not repeat himself. When asked what would happen if the Empire ignored the warning, he only looked at the council and said nothing. The council voted shortly after. The decision was clear. They would test the border, not with a full armada. That would be unnecessary. Just a small force, a scouting fleet, enough to cross the boundary, gather data, and return. A simple demonstration. The envoy was dismissed. As his ship departed, the Empire's fleet moved toward Terran space. The moment the ships crossed the border, something felt wrong. Long-range sensors began to fail. Then communications flickered, then went silent. Stars ahead seemed dimmer, as if space itself was pulling inward. Navigation systems reported errors that made no sense. Time readings drifted out of sync. The fleet commander attempted to turn back. The order never reached the ships. Inside the fleet, crews felt pressure in their heads. Not pain, not fear, just an overwhelming sense that they were being watched. One final transmission reached Imperial space. Not a scream, not a warning. Just a whisper, calm and quiet. You were warned. Then the signal ended. The fleet vanished. No debris, no explosion, no energy surge. It was simply gone. And for the first time in centuries, the Empire did not know what to do next. The Empire waited for news. Minutes passed after the fleet vanished. Then hours, then days. No wreckage appeared. No emergency signals echoed through space. No energy waves were detected. It was as if the fleet had never existed at all. Inside the Imperial command halls, confusion spread. Fleet commanders replayed sensor data again and again. Scientists examined every possible explanation. Engineers blamed system failure. Astrophysicists blamed unknown space storms. None of it made sense. A fleet that large could not simply disappear. The Empire had lost ships before. even entire armadas. But there were always signs: explosions, radiation, broken holes drifting through space. This time, there was nothing. The red border of Terran space remained silent. Imperial officials demanded answers. More probes were sent, small, unmanned drones, equipped with the best sensors the Empire had. They approached the Terran boundary slowly, carefully, sending constant data back. The moment they crossed the border, every signal cut out. Each drone vanished at the exact same point. No delay, no warning, just silence. Fear began to grow. The Council refused to admit it openly, but something was wrong. Terran space was not empty. It was controlled, watched, guarded by something the Empire could not see. Imperial scientists worked without rest. They studied old records, forgotten archives, ancient battle reports from minor civilizations that no longer existed. Again and again, one detail appeared. Every race that tried to enter Terran space vanished. No survivors, no records, no revenge attacks from Terrans. Just disappearance. Still, the Council refused to back down. Empires did not fear borders. Empires erased them. While the Empire argued, something changed deep inside Terran space. Systems that had slept for centuries began to wake. Hidden structures buried inside stars activated. Silent machines older than the Empire adjusted their positions. Not ships, not stations. Something deeper, something woven into space itself. On Earth, Terran leaders gathered. There was no panic, no shouting, only calm voices. They had expected this moment. One Terran officer spoke quietly. Phase 1 is complete. Another asked if the Empire understood yet. The answer was simple: no. The Terrans knew the Empire would try again. Empires always did. Back in Imperial space, pressure from military leaders increased. They demanded action. They demanded proof. The disappearance of one fleet could be explained away, they argued. A mistake, a strange event. But 2 fleets, 3, that would be unacceptable. Council approved a second mission. This time it would not be small. A full exploration fleet was assembled. Hundreds of ships, heavy shields, advanced sensors, emergency beacons that would transmit even if time itself broke apart. The fleet's orders were clear: enter Terran space. Observe return. As the fleet prepared to depart, a final message arrived. It was Terran, short.com, clear. Turn back. The message was ignored. The fleet crossed the border. First, nothing happened. Imperial commanders relaxed. Some even smiled. The warning seemed empty now. Space ahead looked normal. Stars burned bright. Systems worked. Then time began to slip. Ship clocks fell out of sync by seconds, then minutes, then hours. Navigation computers argued with each other. Crews reported strange shadows moving where no objects existed. Still no weapons fired. No explosions. No attack. The fleet pushed deeper, and then the first ship stopped responding. Its power did not fail. Its crew did not scream. It simply stopped. It's frozen in space. Then another, then 10 more. Commanders shouted orders. Retreat was called. Shields were raised. Weapons armed. Nothing responded. A deep hum filled the ships, not heard with ears, but felt in bones. Space itself seemed to tighten around them. From far away, unseen by Imperial eyes, Terran systems adjusted once more. Phase 2 was beginning, and the Empire was about to learn the true meaning of the warning. The Second Imperial Fleet was larger than any force the Empire had ever sent into unknown space. Hundreds of warships moved in perfect formation. Heavy cruisers guarded the center. Sensor ships scanned every direction. Command vessels linked the fleet together with constant data streams. This time, there would be no mystery. As the fleet crossed into Terran space, Imperial officers waited for the same darkness, the same silence. But nothing happened. Systems remained stable. Communications stayed open. Weapons stood ready. Stars ahead burned bright and calm. The commanders began to believe the First Fleet's disappearance had been an accident, a rare cosmic event, a misunderstanding. Confidence returned. The fleet pushed forward. For several minutes, everything seemed normal. Then gravity changed, not sharply, not violently, just enough to be wrong. Ships drifted slightly out of alignment. Formation software struggled to correct tiny errors that should not exist. Pilots adjusted controls, feeling resistance where there should have been none. Then time shifted. Clocks aboard different ships began to disagree, not by much. 1 second, then 2, then 10. Communication delays grew strange. Orders arrived before they were sent. Confusion spread. Still, no attack came. No enemy ships appeared. No weapons fired. The fleet commander ordered a halt. Before the order could reach the outer ships, something unseen moved through the fleet. One cruiser shut down. No explosion, no alarm. Its lights went dark, and it froze in place like a statue. Another followed. Then another. Commander shouted. Engineers rushed to panels. Power readings showed full capacity, but nothing responded, and the hum began. It was not sound, it was pressure. A deep vibration felt inside the chest, inside the skull. Crew members collapsed, unable to move. Muscles locked, thoughts slowed. Across the fleet, ships began to disappear, not explode, not break apart. They faded, as if space had decided they no longer belonged. Weapons were never fired. The Empire's strongest shields never activated. They were useless. The fleet tried to retreat. Engines failed. Navigation systems pointed nowhere. Only one ship was allowed to move. A small command vessel at the edge of the formation suddenly regained control. Systems rebooted without explanation. Its engines ignited. A path opened in space. The ship fled. Behind it, the fleet vanished. When the ship crossed back into Imperial space, every sensor lit up with warning signals. The hull was damaged not by weapons, but by something deeper. Symbols were burned into the metal. Simple words. Clear words. No trespass. The crew aboard the ship was silent. Some could not speak. Some could not remember parts of the journey. All of them understood one thing. This was not a battle. It was judgment. The ship was escorted to the Imperial capital at once. The council gathered in silence as the hull markings were displayed. No one laughed now. The Empire had attacked. And the Terrans had not fought. They had decided. Across the galaxy, rumors spread. Whole fleets erased without explosions. Borders enforced without armies. A species that did not threaten, but did not forgive. For the first time, the Empire felt something unfamiliar. Fear. Deep inside Terran space, systems settled back into silence. Phase 2 ended. Human observers watched quietly. They did not celebrate. They did not cheer. They recorded. One Terran analyst spoke softly. They still don't understand, another replied. They will. The Empire began preparations for war. Not a test, not an exploration, a full invasion. This time Terrans would no longer stay silent. After the second fleet vanished, the galaxy changed. Not loudly, not suddenly, but quietly. Trade routes slowed. Neutral systems closed their borders. Old alliances began to weaken. Everywhere the same question was whispered in dark halls and private channels. Who were the Terrans? The Empire searched for answers. Every archive was opened. Every old record was reviewed. The Empire looked back through thousands of years, far beyond its own rise to power, and slowly a pattern appeared. Terrans had once been like everyone else. They explored, they traded. Long ago, humans had joined early galactic councils. They shared knowledge. They offered cooperation. They believed peace could be built through words. It failed. Again and again, stronger empires rose. Agreements were broken. Borders were ignored. Worlds burned because someone believed power gave them the right to take. Humans learned a painful lesson. War was not stopped by promises. It was stopped by certainty. So the Terrans disappeared, not in defeat. In preparation, they withdrew from politics. They abandoned visible expansion. They erased their presence from common space. While others fought for territory, humans studied deeper things. Time, space, cause, and effect. They learned not how to destroy fleets, but how to decide if a fleet should exist at all. Terran defenses were not built as weapons. They were built as laws. Cross this line, and reality itself answers. The Empire did not understand this yet. They still thought in terms of ships, armor, and firepower. In the imperial capital, the council argued late into the cycle. Some demanded surrender. Others demanded a full strike before fear spread further. Wide one. The Empire announced total mobilization. The greatest armada in galactic history was assembled. Thousands of ships, millions of crew, enough firepower to crack stars. The plan was simple. Overwhelm Terran space. Force them to reveal their weapons. Destroy them. Deep inside Terran space, the response was calm. Humans watched the armada gather from distances the Empire did not know could be seen. Every movement was tracked. Every signal understood. No panic followed. A Terran commander spoke to the council. "They are afraid," another replied. "Yes, that makes them dangerous." The Terrans did not hate the Empire. They did not seek revenge. They believed in one rule only. Borders exist for a reason. As the Imperial Armada approached Terran space, something unusual happened. Terrans opened communication. Not to threaten, not to negotiate. A single message was sent across every channel the Empire used. "Turn back. This is your final warning." The Empire refused. Their fleets crossed the border together. At once, space reacted. Not violently, not suddenly. Gently, gravity shifted just enough to pull formations apart. Time stretched unevenly. Communication delays grew until orders arrived too late to matter. Then Terran systems activated fully. Not ships, not cannons, Terran control. Whole sections of the Armada lost the ability to move. Power remained, but command was gone. Crews found themselves unable to act, frozen inside living ships. Terrans selected targets carefully. Military ships only. Command vessels first. Supply lines second. No civilian ships were touched. No inhabited worlds harmed. This was not destruction. It was correction. The Armada collapsed without a battle. From the Empire's view, it was impossible. From the Terran view, it was necessary. When the last Imperial ship fell silent, Terran sent one final message. Terran space is closed. The galaxy listened. The Empire did not respond. For the first time in its history, it could not. The Imperial Armada did not fall in fire. It fell in silence. Across Terran space, thousands of Imperial ships hung motionless. Their weapons were intact. Their engines were full of power. Their crews were alive. And yet, none of it mattered. They could not move. They could not speak. They could not fight. From the Empire's capital, desperate signals were sent. Emergency codes. Override commands. Ancient authority seals that had never failed before. Nothing reached the trapped ships. Terran control was absolute. Inside Terran space, human commanders watched the Armada with careful focus. No cheers filled the rooms. No celebrations followed. This was not victory. This was responsibility. One Terran officer asked a simple question. "Are there any civilian vessels inside the zone?" The answer came quickly. "No." "Any medical ships?" "None." "Then proceed." The Terrans acted with precision. Command ships were shut down first. Without leadership, the Armada lost coordination completely. Supply ships were disabled next, cutting off energy redistribution and repair systems. Still, no ship was destroyed. The Empire watched in horror. They had expected battle. They had prepared for loss. They were not prepared for mercy. At last, Terran spoke again. Their message reached every system in the galaxy. Clear, calm, unshaken. "This is Terran space." "You were warned," the Empire finally replied. Not with anger, not with threats, with fear. They asked what Terrans wanted. Terrans did not answer at once. They waited. Then, slowly, parts of the Armada were released. Few ships regained control, engines restarted, communications returned. Those ships were allowed to retreat. They carried a message, not written in threats, written in certainty. Leave, do not return. As the surviving Imperial ships fled, the rest of the Armada was erased. No explosions, no suffering. Just removal. Terrans did not strike in anger. They did not seek revenge for the first fleets lost. They enforced the border exactly as promised. Across the galaxy, leaders watched in silence. They saw something new. Power without hunger. Strength without cruelty. The Empire was broken, not destroyed, but humbled. Its authority faded. Systems once ruled by fear began to choose neutrality. Others sought Terran protection, not control, but safety. The Empire's leaders resigned. Some vanished. Some lived with the knowledge that their pride had almost ended everything. Inside Terran space, systems powered down. The defense grid returned to watchful silence. Humanity did not expand. They did not claim new territory. They simply closed the door again. One Terran commander looked at the stars and spoke quietly. "We gave them every chance." Another answered, "They heard us. Too late." The galaxy now understood the truth. Terran space was not defended by weapons. It was defended by resolve. And there would be no second warning. After the war that never truly happened, the galaxy grew quieter. Trade routes changed. Borders shifted. Old alliances faded into history. Where the Empire once ruled with fear, uncertainty now remained. And at the center of that silence was Terran space. Still marked in red, still closed, but no longer questioned. For the first time, the galaxy listened to humanity. Terrans did not celebrate their victory. No monuments were raised. No stories of conquest were spread. Human leaders returned to their worlds and continued their lives as they always had. Because this was never about power. It was about survival. Long before the Empire existed, humanity had learned a painful truth. Humans remembered their own history of war, remembered borders ignored, treaties broken, and words twisted until they meant nothing. Remembered trusting stronger powers and paying the price. When humans reached the stars, they carried that memory with them. At first, they believed the galaxy could be different. They were wrong. So they chose another path. Instead of ruling others, they ruled themselves. Instead of conquering space, they protected one small part of it completely. Terran space was not an empire. It was a line drawn with care. Cross it, and consequences followed. It's not because Terrans hated others, but because peace without strength was only a story. Deep inside Terran space, the ancient systems remained awake, but calm. They watched not just for ships, but for intent. They did not strike blindly, acted only when the line was crossed. Human engineers maintained these systems not as soldiers, but as guardians. Their rule was simple: no trespass, no exceptions, no second warnings. Across the galaxy, new generations studied what happened. They learned that silence could be stronger than threats, that restraint could be more powerful than violence, that humanity did not need to shout to be heard. Terran sent one final message to the galactic community. Not a command, not a warning, statement. We will not rule you. We will not follow you. We ask only one thing: respect our border. The message spread everywhere. And this time, it was obeyed. Years passed. The Empire became history. Smaller powers rose, but none dared test Terran space. Explorers adjusted their charts. Traders rerouted their paths. Admirals erased old ambitions. The red border remained. Not as a mystery, but as a lesson. In a quiet moment, a Terran historian recorded the final words of the conflict. They were warned. Not once, but always. The galaxy remembered, because some borders are not drawn to divide, they are drawn to protect. And Terran space would remain closed forever.